Today, we will tell a story about a billionaire. One day, the richest man in the city disguised himself as a poor man. What happened next changed a child's life forever. The city of Lagos never slept. Even at midnight, the streets buzzed with life. Yellow buses roared through traffic. Street vendors called out to passing customers. Music floated out of roadside bars, and the smell of roasted corn drifted through the humid air. Tall glass buildings stood beside broken sidewalks. Luxury cars passed children selling sachet water. In this city, wealth and poverty lived side by side. And on one particular day, something unusual was about to happen. Because the richest man in the city had decided to disappear. Not forever, just for a few days. But what he discovered during those few days would change several lives forever. Daniel Adebayo was one of the most powerful businessmen in Lagos. His company, Adebayo Global Holdings, owned hotels, oil contracts, construction companies, and technology firms across Africa. People called him many things. The Lion of Lagos, the Untouchable, the King of Business. His mansion stood in Banana Island, surrounded by high gates and security guards. His garage held cars worth more than some houses. But Daniel Adebayo had one problem. He trusted almost no one. Not his employees, not his friends, sometimes not even his own family. Because the richer he became, the more he noticed something strange. People were nice to him, but they were only nice because he was rich. When he entered a restaurant, managers rushed to greet him. When he attended events, people praised him endlessly. But deep inside, he always wondered one thing. Would these same people treat me the same way if I had nothing? The question haunted him. And eventually, he decided to find out. One evening, Daniel called his most trusted assistant. Her name was Grace Okonkwo. Grace had worked with him for 12 years. She was intelligent, calm, and loyal. When she walked into his office, Daniel closed the door. "I want to disappear for 3 days," he said. Grace frowned. "Disappear?" "Yes." "Sir, you can't just disappear. You have meetings with investors tomorrow." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "I'm not asking for permission." Grace crossed her arms. "What exactly are you planning?" Daniel stood up and walked to the window overlooking the city. "I want to walk through the city like a poor man." Grace stared at him. "You're serious?" "I want to see how people really treat those who have nothing." Grace sighed. "Sir, this sounds like a terrible idea." But Daniel smiled. Sometimes the best lessons come from terrible ideas. The next morning, something strange happened. The billionaire vanished. No fancy suits, no luxury car, no security guards. Daniel wore torn jeans, an old shirt, and dusty sandals. He rubbed dirt on his hands and face. Even his assistant barely recognized him. "You look like someone who hasn't eaten in days," Grace said. Daniel smiled. Perfect. He took only a small amount of cash and left his mansion through the back gate. For the first time in many years, Daniel Adebayo walked through Lagos like a nobody. And immediately, the city treated him differently. When Daniel entered a cafe that he used to visit often, something shocking happened. The waiter ignored him. Completely. Daniel sat down. 20 minutes passed. No one came to take his order. But when a man in a suit walked in, the staff rushed toward him. "Good morning, sir. Welcome, sir." Daniel realized something. To them, he was now invisible. Finally, a waiter walked up to him. "What do you want?" the man asked impatiently. Daniel spoke softly. "Just some bread and tea." The waiter looked annoyed. "Pay first." Daniel paid. The tea arrived cold. The bread was stale. No one cared. For the first time in years, Daniel experienced something he had never known before: disrespect. Later that afternoon, Daniel walked through a crowded market street. That's when he saw him. A small boy, maybe 10 years old. The boy carried a tray of oranges on his head. "Buy orange, sweet orange!" But people ignored him. Some pushed them aside. Others insulted him. Daniel watched as the boy stumbled and dropped some oranges on the ground. Cars drove past. People stepped on him. The boy quickly picked them up. His face looked tired, hungry, but he kept shouting, "Sweet orange!" Daniel walked closer. "How much?" he asked. The boy looked surprised. "Then naira each." Daniel bought several. Then he noticed something. The boy's clothes were torn, and his shoes were completely broken. "Why are you working so late?" Daniel asked. The boy shrugged. "I have to." "Where are your parents?" The boy hesitated. "My mother is sick." Daniel felt something twist inside him. The boy introduced himself. "My name is Musa." Daniel nodded. "Daniel." They sat near a roadside bench. Daniel asked gently, "Why aren't you in school?" Musa looked down. "My mother used to sell food, but she got very sick. Now I sell oranges to buy medicine." Daniel stayed silent. "Do you have brothers or sisters?" Daniel asked. "No, just me and my mother." The boy then looked at Daniel carefully. "You look hungry too." Daniel laughed softly. "I suppose I do." Musa took one orange from his tray and handed it to him. "Take it." Daniel was surprised. "But I already paid." Musa shook his head. "This one is free. Everyone deserves kindness." Daniel slowly accepted the orange, and at that moment, the billionaire felt something he hadn't felt in years: humility. Daniel decided to do something unusual. "Where do you live?" he asked. Musa pointed toward a small area of tin roof houses. Daniel followed him. The house was tiny. Inside, a woman lay on a mattress. She looked weak and pale. "Mother," Musa said softly, "I brought someone." The woman tried to sit up. "Good evening, sir." Daniel nodded respectfully. "Good evening, Ma." Musa whispered something to her. "She said you looked hungry." The woman smiled weakly. "If we had food, I would offer you some." Daniel felt a heavy silence fill the room. He realized something painful. These people had almost nothing, yet they were still willing to share. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He stayed in a cheap roadside lodge, and he kept thinking about Musa. The boy had shown him more kindness in 1 hour than many rich people had shown him in years. The next morning, Daniel returned. Musa was already on the street selling oranges again. "Daniel," the boy said happily, "you came back." Daniel nodded. "I want to ask you something." "Yes?" "If someone offered to help you, what would you want the most?" Musa thought carefully. Then he said something that shocked Daniel. "I want my mother to be healthy. Then I want to go to school." He paused. "And maybe one day I can become a doctor." Daniel smiled slowly. That answer changed everything. On the third day, Daniel returned to his mansion. He showered, shaved, put on his expensive suit. Within hours, the powerful billionaire was back. But he had not forgotten Musa. The next day, a black luxury car stopped near the market street. Musa stared at it nervously. 2 men stepped out. "Are you Musa?" one asked. "Yes." "Someone wants to see you." Musa looked scared, but when he stepped inside the car, he froze, because sitting there was the same poor man he had helped, except now he wore a suit worth more than Musa had ever seen. "Daniel?" Musa whispered. Daniel smiled. "My real name is Daniel Adebayo." The boy's eyes widened. "The billionaire?" Daniel nodded. "Yes." Musa was speechless. But why? Daniel leaned forward. Because sometimes the only way to know people's hearts is to meet them when you have nothing. Daniel visited Musa's home again, this time with doctors. Within days, Musa's mother received proper treatment. Within weeks, she began to recover. Daniel arranged something else too. Musa was enrolled in one of the best schools in Lagos. All expenses paid. Uniform, books, food, everything. When Musa asked why Daniel was doing this, the billionaire simply said, "Because when you thought I was poor, you still gave me your only orange." Years passed. Musa grew into a brilliant young student. And one day, at a school event, Daniel told the story publicly. He looked at the audience and said, "Many people respect wealth, but very few respect humanity." He paused. The true test of character is not how you treat powerful people, but how you treat those who can do nothing for you. He looked toward Musa in the crowd. And sometimes, the child you help today may become the blessing that changes the world tomorrow. Final moral: never judge people by their appearance, and never ignore someone simply because they seem poor, because kindness given to the smallest person can return to you in ways you never imagined.